Tales from the Jails with John G. Sutton. Today I want to talk a little bit about the Brotherhood, the order of the Freemasons that work in society and manipulate the prison system for their own ends, which may seem unlikely to people who haven't been there, but as I've been there and seen it happen, I can tell you that it does, and it is an insult to the integrity of the criminal justice system. No good telling that to the people in charge because they're in the Brotherhood. And you can believe that or not, but that's what I saw with my own eyes. And I experienced it. And they take revenge, if you get on the wrong side of them. There's a feature on YouTube at the moment. It's about Paul Sykes. It's been uploaded by Sean Atwood, and it involves me being interviewed by Sean Atwood about 18 months ago, discussing my times at the prisons. And towards the end of it, it discusses one incident that happened at WORMWOOD SCRUBS, where a certain governor was unlocking a particularly dangerous Category A prisoner and taking him off the landings at lunchtime, by the way, when the prison was in lockdown, down to his office at the end of C Wing and into his office and shutting the door. And as he was unlocking the Category A inmate, I said to the governor, "Excuse me, sir, this is a Category A inmate, and according to the regulations, he may not be unlocked during lockdown and the hours, and certainly not without two officers present." The governor said to me, he said, "Do you know who I am?" I said, "I certainly do, sir. Do you know who I am?" I said, "I'm the officer in charge of this landing. You get about your duties." So I reported this to the duty officer in charge of the wing at the time, who was a principal officer. He said to me, "He is the governor. He can do what he wants." "Oh, really? He can do what he wants? So the rules and regulations of the prison don't apply to the governor?" Well, apparently not. Yeah. So anyway, I think the governor made a complaint about me because I got mentioned in dispatches by the chief officer. Called me and said, "What's this about you questioning the governor and all that?" That's all nonsense, really. But little did I know at the time that I had crossed the path of a senior Freemason. And my life became quite difficult after that. Things started happening. Called up by the training principal officer and questioned about my attitude. See, there's nothing wrong with my attitude. I was doing my job, But word had gone out, that I must be dealt with. I was likely to cause trouble. Not really likely to cause trouble by offending against the regulations and the law, no, but causing trouble by refusing to allow anybody or the governor's it didn't matter who it was. If there are regulations, they pertain to everybody there, but they don't. And it was further than that. There were numerous members of the Brotherhood, one of them being the number one chief officer at WORMWOOD SCRUBS, who was in charge of all the discipline grade staff, and he had a serious attempt at making my life extremely miserable. For a period of time, they were putting me on Category A visits when I had to sit in on the IRA, yeah? Now, the IRA weren't particularly keen on people sitting in on their visits with their loved ones, I mean, I'm not totally unsympathetic to the IRA. I mean, I don't believe in blowing people up and murdering people. But I'm part Irish myself on my maternal grandparents' side. And I believe, that Ireland should be for the Irish. And that's it, as far as I can see. You know, I have no objection to them making that political point, but blowing people up, I can understand that that's not acceptable. And that's what they've been doing, that's why they were in prison. But they were claiming to be political prisoners, and the staff, the prison was not treating them as political. They were treating them as being offenders under the Criminal Justice Act. So that's where they were, and they had me sitting in on their visits, which was a little bit dangerous, really, because they'd say things to you like, "You do know we know where you live, you know. We know where you live. We know exactly where you are. We know who you are, Mr. Sutton." Really? Yeah? Of course they knew who I was. Probably the bloody Brotherhood had told them. Yeah. But anyway, I was never attacked by the IRA. I tried to be light-hearted with them, but they were seriously politically motivated, and you couldn't, they just wouldn't associate on that level. But the Brotherhood were putting me in danger, and the governor in question, who was taking the Category A prisoner down into his office, I eventually discovered what was going on. I went to see the prisoner in his cell after I found out that he was having letters smuggled out. Because I was working in the census office one day, and a letter came in from, I think it was Lord Boothby and the House of Lords. Well, when it was addressed to this inmate, I remember his name, but I ain't going to spell it out here. And it said something like, "Wonderful to hear from you. Thank you, thank you so much for your letter. It was nice to hear from you again, and I trust that our friends in that establishment are taking good care of you, etc., etc. I will visit soon. Boothby." Yeah, that's how he signed it. And so I checked his records and his letter file, and he hadn't sent a letter out to the House of Lords, hadn't sent a letter out to Lord Boothby. No, and every letter that a Cat A sends out is listed. So somebody was smuggling letters out for him, and I had a good idea who. So I went to see the inmate in his cell, unlocked it, shut the bolt, said, "You're going to tell me who is smuggling letters out for you?" He said, "I don't think so." I said, "Well, you don't have to tell me." I said, "I'll just put you on a formal charge, and we can go before the governor and you can tell him." He said, "Well, I'll tell you," he said, "but it's you won't be able to say anything." I said, "Try me. Come on." And he told me that the letters were being smuggled out by the wing governor, and that, so I said, "Come on, why would he do that?" He said, "Well, when he unlocks me at lunchtime." I said, "I've seen that, yeah." He said, "Well, he takes me down to his office at the end of C Wing." He said, "I go in his office and I have to service him." He says, "What he wants is buggering up the backside." He said, "And once I've done that, then he takes letters out for me, gives me whiskey or whatever it is, and generally speaking, looks after me." And that was the governor who was one of the Brotherhood. Seriously. Seriously. So the Brotherhood in prisons is extremely dangerous because they compromised. It's a song dinger, folks. Now below, if you look below, you're going to see a link that I put on there to the interview that I did with Sean Atwood. So you can have a look at that. It's quite interesting, actually. And I'm going to read you a poem now from my book of poetry. Here we are. John G. Sutton, Poems, Flowers and Collected Poems. This is about what used to happen in the holiday camps in the 1950s and 60s. And those of you who are of a certain age may remember them. Pontins and Butlins and places like that. Yeah, well, they used to have muscle men contests and beauty contests and all the rest of it. Knobbly knees contests, stuff like that. Anyway, it was just a bit of a joke, really. But this is the poem I wrote about the man who won Mr. Pontins, 59, in 1959. His arms were like iron, his fists were like steel. The girls were all shouting, "Give us a feel!" His jockstrap was bulging with muscles so thick, went out from the side, popped the end of his dick. The girls were ecstatic. One shouted, "It's mine!" And that's how he died. Mr. Pontins, 59. Have a look below. You'll see the link to Sean Atwood's little interview with me. Tales from the Jails, folks.